Hey friends, well, come back to my channel. Let's talk honestly for a moment, because this situation is heavy and it deserves clarity. Kody Brown is once again presenting himself as a father who's trying his best, but according to one of his own children, that story simply doesn't line up with reality. This all came to a head after a recent video went viral, where Kody claimed he's been reaching out to his kids and that they're the ones refusing to respond. In his version, the broken relationships aren't on him, they're on the children. That didn't sit well with Leon Brown. Leon recently broke a social media silence to respond directly to Kody's claims, and what they said was blunt, painful, and impossible to ignore. But before we get to Leon's words, let's look at what Kody has been saying publicly, on the show and in interviews, about his relationship with his kids. In multiple appearances, Kody insists that he's trying. He says rebuilding relationships is messy and uncomfortable, that healing isn't pretty, but that he's making the effort. He admits things fell apart as a family, but he also makes a point to say he can't be the only one responsible. According to Kody, everyone needs to take accountability. He claims he knows he could have done better and says he's actively reaching out to his children to repair what's been broken. Then he goes a step further. Kody explains that being on reality TV makes everything harder. Every word he says is recorded, replayed, and judged. He suggests that when his kids say, "My dad did this" or "My dad did that," he's left defenseless because he won't speak badly about them in return. He even admits he may have said things he shouldn't have, and that those comments hurt relationships. In his telling, reality television itself is a big part of the problem. And yet, he keeps repeating the same claim. He has reached out to every one of his children multiple times. If they don't have a relationship with him, he says, it's because they are not reciprocating. He didn't just say this on the show. On a Fox 5 New York morning interview, Kody again said he's been trying to repair relationships with his kids. This time, he shifted some of the blame to his ex-wives, saying they need to take responsibility too, and implying the children are influenced by what their mothers tell them. Then, on the Decider podcast, Kody aimed his frustration outward. He accused podcasters and journalists of shaping negative opinions about him. He claimed that the way others report on his words is what's influencing his children, not what he actually says or does. His message was clear. Be careful what you say about me, because it affects my kids. Here's the thing though, I've personally watched my Kelty react to this show in real time. She's not responding to commentary clips or headlines. She's reacting to Kody's own words, straight from his mouth. And more importantly, it's not just about what's said on camera. It's about how these kids are treated when the cameras are off. That's where Leon's statement becomes impossible to dismiss. Leon took to Instagram and said very clearly that Kody's claims are false. Leon said they haven't heard from their father since their brother, Garrison, died by suicide. They said Kody ignored them at Garrison's funeral, and they didn't soften the message. They called him a liar, called him a joke of a father. Full stop. Those words didn't come from a podcast. They didn't come from a reporter. They came from Kody's own child, reacting directly to his claim that he's been reaching out. Now, to be fair, Kelsey has said that Kody has reached out to her a couple of times, and she chose not to respond. So yes, it's possible he's contacting some of his kids, but clearly he's not contacting all of them, and that's a big difference from what he's been saying publicly. At this point, it's hard to ignore the impact of what happened around Garrison's death. Cody and Robin's behavior at the funeral, and everything that followed, seems to have shattered the family in a way that may not be repairable, at least not from the children's point of view. And that's the painful truth here. This isn't about editing, or headlines, or commentary. It's about lived experiences. And when multiple adult children are saying this is not what's happening, it raises a question Kody still hasn't answered honestly. That's where we'll pause for now.
Because for some of the kids, at least from their point of view, this goes much deeper than missed phone calls. Allegedly, they believe the way Kody treated Garrison, especially on the show, played a serious role in what happened to him. Viewers watched Kody single Garrison out, speak harshly about him, and turn him, along with Gabriel, into the focal point of so much anger and blame. Kody openly accused them of being responsible for the breakdown of his marriage to Janelle. And for a young man already struggling, that kind of public rejection can cut deep. Janelle herself has said that after the family splits and during the estrangement from Kody, Garrison's mental health declined. She shared that he was struggling emotionally and trying to cope. Over time, that coping turned into drinking. According to Janelle, Garrison was using alcohol to manage his depression and his pain. But the kids believe the root of it wasn't just the drinking. It was the rejection. The bullying they felt played out on national television. The humiliation of watching their father speak about them with anger and blame week after week in front of millions of people. Because of that, some of Kody's children no longer speak to him. They see what he did on the show as harmful, not just embarrassing. And yes, allegedly, some of them place responsibility on Kody for what happened to Garrison. To be clear, that's not something I can say applies to every child. I'm speaking generally about what has been reported and what some of the kids have expressed publicly or through media sources. Mykelti, for example, has been very clear. She has said she does not have the emotional capacity to have a relationship with her father right now. She also stated plainly that Kody's behavior at Garrison's funeral was the final straw, the catalyst that led her to cut off contact with both Kody and Robin. Now let's bring this back to Leon. Leon has said that Kody ignored them at the funeral, completely brushed them off. No conversation, no comfort, no follow-up. And Leon emphasized something that's hard to hear but important to understand. They have not heard from their father since their brother died by suicide. That detail matters. Saying, "since my brother killed himself," isn't accidental. It highlights the depth of the silence. Meanwhile, on the show, Kody continues to say he wants to repair relationships because he wants time with his children. In this most recent episode, he even leaned into that narrative by talking about Garrison in a way that clearly invited sympathy. He shared a story about having a beer with Garrison the last time they were together. He framed it as a meaningful, tender moment, one of those small memories parents cling to when there are regrets. But here's where things don't add up. After Garrison died, Kody told People magazine that he wished he could have had a beer with his son. Now on the show, he's saying that he did have that beer. Those are two very different statements, and when you put them side by side, it raises serious questions. I don't believe Kody's relationship with Garrison was in a good place. We know Garrison sent text messages to his father shortly before his death, and we also know what the medical examiner reported afterward. Garrison's cause of death was ruled a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but acute alcohol intoxication was listed as a contributing factor. His blood alcohol level was extremely high, around 0.33 or 0.34. That level of intoxication severely affects judgment and cognitive ability. In simple terms, had he been sober that night, it's very possible he would still be alive. So when Kody casually says, "well, I got to have a beer with my son," it lands differently, especially when that contradicts what he said publicly before. It feels less like reflection and more like a story adjusted for sympathy. And that's the pattern people keep pointing to. These aren't vague accusations. These are statements that can be checked, interviews that still exist, quotes that haven't disappeared. When Kody changes his story, it's noticeable. And these are exactly the kinds of contradictions his children react to. Not because someone like me reports on them, but because they hear him say it themselves. If Kody says, "I'm reaching out," and Leon says, "no, he's not, I haven't heard from him since March 2024, and it's now November 2025, that's about 19 months of silence. That's not a misunderstanding. That's no contact. Add to that what's been reported about the funeral, Kody not speaking to some of his children, and what I was told about another event where witnesses said he ignored certain kids entirely and carried himself like everyone should fall in line for him. And yes, to be fair, some of the kids didn't want to speak to him either. Estrangement works both ways, but history matters. Given Kody's long record of contradictory statements, I'm going to say it plainly. I believe Leon. Leon's statement is heartbreaking, and it reinforces reporting I received nearly 2 years ago. At that time, I was told Kody rejected Leon because he does not accept their transition. I was told he would not speak to Leon because they are transgender. I was also told that Robin does not accept that either, and that Robin and her daughters... And we'll stop right there.
The older kids, according to reports, made deeply hurtful comments about Leon. There were allegations that Leon was mocked, labeled as evil, and spoken about in cruel, dismissive ways. Reporting from The Sun cited a source close to Kody who claimed that he did not recognize Leon for who they are, did not accept their identity, and ultimately chose not to have a relationship with them. Now, contrast that with Meri. Meri has continued to maintain a relationship with Leon, and the way she's handled it speaks volumes. She has consistently honored Leon's request for privacy. She does not discuss Leon on the show, and when viewers ask about Leon during Instagram lives or TikTok lives, Meri always responds the same way, calm, respectful, and protective. She'll say something like, "Leon doesn't want to be public-facing. I don't want to invade their privacy. They're good. We're good." And that's it. That boundary has been respected, and that's why you almost never hear Kody and Meri talk about Leon publicly. Honestly, Meri's quiet protection of her child says more than any dramatic on-camera argument ever could. It's a testament to her love. Because if Meri truly wanted to lay everything out, she could. She could say that part of her conflict with Kody is about money and Coyote Pass. She could talk about how he mistreated her for years. But she could also say, plainly, that one of the deepest wounds between them is his rejection of Leon and his refusal to have contact with them simply because they are transgender.
They come from a belief system and culture that often views people who are gay, transgender, or non-binary as sinful, dangerous, or morally wrong. I understand that people have personal beliefs. Everyone is entitled to their opinions. But when it's your own child, when that child comes to you and says, "This is who I am," how you respond matters more than anything else. As a parent, I can't imagine turning my back on my child over that. No matter my personal views, I could never reject my child for being honest about who they are. That kind of rejection cuts to the core. It's the kind of pain that doesn't fade with time. It's the kind of family rejection that contributes to declining mental health, depression, and tragically, thoughts of suicide among transgender and gay individuals. Acceptance doesn't mean understanding everything perfectly. It means loving your child enough to walk alongside them. That support is a lifeline. Instead, Kody continues to prioritize his endless hunger for attention and fame over the emotional well-being of his children, and that's the part that's hardest to watch. I respect Leon for speaking out and setting the record straight. It takes courage to do that, especially when the person you're calling out has a national platform. And frankly, I believe the reason Kody suddenly seems to be heading into what looks like an apology tour is because he's trying to stop the truth from coming out. Here's the thing about lies. They only survive when other people help carry them. For a long time, members of the family covered for him. They stayed quiet, they softened the truth, and that allowed him to keep up the image. But now, they're not doing that anymore, and without that protection, the story starts to fall apart. Kody wants desperately for them to stay silent. He wants them to keep playing along, but he can't fix this, not the way he's trying to. And he knows the show has played a major role in the damage to his family. He knows it, and still, he doesn't walk away. Because fame, for him, comes first. I feel deeply for Leon. I feel for anyone who has been rejected by their own family for simply being who they are. No one deserves that. And in my view, that kind of behavior makes Kody a very poor excuse for a father. We'll see if more of the kids decide to speak out, but for now, that's where I'll leave it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed and click the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, friends.